My name is Kayla, and I'm a 34-year-old housewife. Every year, I have to deal with pest control at our home in the countryside because even small changes in the weather cause a rise in bugs. In the past, I would have easily complained, saying things like, "Ew, bugs are so gross." But now that I'm over 30, I've become quite fearless, swatting them without hesitation. I guess I've gotten tougher, haven't I? Today, I want to share a story about something more serious, my sister having a crush on my husband. This happened a few years ago when I was still in my 20s. It all started when my middle school class had a reunion, and I bumped into my old childhood friend, James, who used to live nearby, back when we were in elementary school. My younger sister, Victoria, who is 2 years younger than me, James, and I would always play together. But as we grew up, James felt embarrassed about playing with girls and began to keep his distance. Later, when we entered middle school, his family moved away, and we lost touch completely. So, I was really nervous when I saw him again at the reunion. But, as adults, we had a new friend to help, use alcohol. Oh, how helpful alcohol can be in these situations. With its help, James and I ended up having a lively conversation, as if we had never been apart. We went to a couple more bars that night, just the two of us. Then, right before we said goodbye, James confessed, "I used to like you when we were kids, and it seems like I still like you now." Surprised, I jokingly responded, "What's that supposed to mean?" But we ended up starting a relationship in the light-hearted manner, saying, "Well then, should we start dating?" Later, when James was sober, he was so embarrassed by what he had said that he literally rolled around on the floor, asking himself, "What was I thinking?" I couldn't help but burst out laughing. It's kind of cute when someone you like is so shy, especially because of you. I did feel a little sorry for him, though. Our relationship moved quickly, and we soon decided to get married. We went to each other's parents to announce our plans and agreed to live together for about 6 months before the wedding. We thought it'd be a good way to see if our daily routines were a good fit. Since James and I were childhood friends, our parents already knew each other, so getting their approval should have been easy. But, unexpectedly, there was a problem on my side of the family. It happened when James came over to meet my family and have dinner together. My sister called out as she returned from work, sounding tired. When she walked into the dining room and saw James sitting at the table, she was surprised at first. Then, her expression quickly turned into a happy one. "Ah, James, what are you doing here?" she asked. James looked a bit shy and glanced at me, so I spoke up and explained for him. "Well, we've actually been dating for about 6 months now, and we've decided to get married. He came over today to let everyone know." The moment I said that, my sister's face changed as if she had just tasted something very bitter. "All right, I'm tired, so I'm going to bed. Bye." She quickly left for her room and slammed the door shut. Wow, that was awkward. I looked at James, worried that my sister's reaction might have upset him, but he gave me a reassuring smile and said, "Don't worry about it. Just so you know, my sister isn't usually like that. There had to be something about my upcoming marriage or living together that bothered her. But since even our parents were fine with it, why was she so upset?" I couldn't understand her feelings and wondered if I should talk to her directly. Later, after James left, I ran into her in the hallway as I was about to take a bath. I hesitated, unsure of what to say. She glared at me with an intense expression and snapped, "I never thought you'd marry James. I've always loved him too. I'll never forgive you." With that, she stormed off, her footsteps echoing angrily down the hallway. I was completely stunned. Really, she loved James too. It felt like something out of a soap opera. I couldn't sleep that night, thinking it over, but in the end, I came to a conclusion. Did it really matter if my sister loved my fiancé? After all, we were already engaged. If James had told me that he loved my sister, that would have been a different story, but he didn't, and if she'd loved him for so long, she should have told him much earlier. Blaming me now was unfair. I knew this could make her act even more hostile toward me. but I decided to just let it go like a mature older sister would. Normally, this would feel like a serious situation, but I chose to stay positive. Still, I wasn't sure if I should tell James about it. If he didn't know, he might feel uncomfortable whenever he came over, not understanding why. So, since he was involved, I decided to be honest and tell him everything. "If there's anything I can't do, just let me know," James said, worried. "Although, I don't think there's much I can do." "Well, it's a sister issue," I replied. "If my sister tries to attack me, I might ask you to be my shield." "Hey, don't joke about that," he said, smiling. So, we decided not to take it too seriously. Neither of us wanted to change our plans to get married. It wasn't something we could just make my sister understand, so we chose to leave it alone. As expected, her attitude toward me got colder after that. On the first day, when I went to take a bath after her, I noticed she had drained all the water from the tub. Haha, it's not a big deal, I thought. There's always the shower. Honestly, I could only laugh at my sister's petty attempts to annoy me. But, at the same time, I knew things were getting a bit much. When my sister started hiding my makeup and wallet before I went to work, it was really frustrating. I didn't have time to play a game of find the hidden items every morning. I scrambled around, stressed out about being late. Because of that, I ended up arriving late to work twice in 1 week. My boss, noticing this, gave me a stern look and said, "Is it because you are getting too relaxed now that you're getting married?" It was humiliating, and I thought, this is unforgivable. But then I reminded myself, I'm her older sister. I should forgive her, right? Or maybe not. At first, our parents didn't know what my sister was up to, but after she started hiding more valuables around the house, Mom finally noticed something was off and scolded her, saying, "Why are you acting so childish?" But my sister didn't seem to care and just thought, what a bother. The bigger problem, however, was my dad. Dad has always favored my sister a little more. When Mom was sick, he had to take care of her like she was his little baby. So he ended up developing a strong protective instinct toward her. I understood his feelings. After all, I also grew up thinking my younger sister was cute, especially after everything she went through. If you're wondering if I've ever felt like my dad favored her over me, well, yes, one time, when I wanted to go to the amusement park, Dad decided to take us to the aquarium instead, just because that's what my sister wanted. But Mom always made sure to ask what I wanted, so I never felt truly neglected. If Mom hadn't been that way, I probably would have developed a strong feeling of inferiority toward my sister. Even some of my friends back then would say things like, "Your dad loves your younger sister more than you." But I just thought it was normal for things to be a bit unbalanced sometimes. Maybe it's because I have a naturally optimistic personality that I didn't let it bother me much. I'd even think, if there's someone who can really bring me down, I'd like to see them try. But this time, Dad took my sister's side. She told him, my older sister stole my boyfriend, and he believed her without even asking for my side of the story. In Dad's mind, he started thinking of James as the worst kind of man, one who would play around with both sisters. He worried that while I could get married, my sister would be left behind, heartbroken. I couldn't really blame him for wanting to protect my little sister, but it hurt that he didn't even try to understand my perspective. Mom, on the other hand, didn't take either of our words at face value. She calmly assessed the situation and said, "James doesn't seem like the type to do something like that," but she was still only half convinced. Meanwhile, Dad was adamant, saying, "I can't stand how pitiful your sister is. She's been abandoned, and now you're being toyed with too. I won't forgive anyone who hurts my beloved daughters." He even told me, "You need to wake up," as if I'd been brainwashed by James. No matter what I said, he wouldn't listen. Despite favoring my sister a bit more, he's always been a good dad who genuinely loves us both. But just this once, I really wished he'd listen to my side of the story. All this made it a lot more complicated for us to move forward with our marriage. I decided to go ahead and move in with James earlier than planned. I thought that if I wasn't at home, my sister wouldn't be able to cause me trouble. Moving out seemed like the best way to get some distance and focus on my new life. Luckily, things went smoothly for James and me. My mom supported my decision, saying, "You're an adult, so do what you think is right. Live your life freely." My dad, on the other hand, wasn't happy, but he didn't argue. Maybe he thought it was the best way to settle things for both me and my sister. Deep down, I thought the same. It was hard, though, seeing James being treated like he was the bad guy in all this. For a while, we didn't hear anything from my sister, and I assumed the whole issue was behind us. But then, on our wedding day, my sister didn't show up, and my dad tried to get me to call off the wedding, saying, "It's not too late to change your mind." My mom, trying to comfort me, laughed and said, "There were times when I wondered if I made a mistake marrying your dad, too. Marriage has its ups and downs, so be prepared." My dad, hearing that, looked shocked and shouted, "Is that really true?" Not everyone seemed happy, but with my parents watching, James and I got married. The next morning, our doorbell rang loudly, startling both of us. We rushed to the door and looked at the monitor. My entire family, dad, mom, and my sister, Victoria, were standing outside. "What's going on?" I asked, confused. My sister glared at me and blurted out, "I didn't say this before, but I'm pregnant with James's baby. He needs to take responsibility." My dad added, "You two don't have children yet, so James should break up with you and marry Victoria. Give them to her." I stared at them in shock, not knowing what to say. My mom looked just as confused and asked, "What's going on?" James, still half asleep, came up behind me and, hearing what they said, looked completely stunned. "What? Your baby?" "No, that's not true," he said, shaking his head frantically. "We never did anything like that." James's denial was so exaggerated that it almost seemed fake, making him look even more suspicious. I wanted to laugh, but I stayed quiet. "James's baby? What are you talking about? How far along are you?" I asked my sister. 2 months. If James doesn't take responsibility, this child will grow up without a father. That would be so sad." "Right," she replied confidently. 2 months. I glanced at James, and we both burst out laughing, completely surprising my parents, who were watching us, utterly confused. My sister, now flustered, shouted, "What are you laughing at?" I wiped tears from my eyes and said, still chuckling, "Oh, 2 months ago. Ah, well, that's interesting. Victoria, didn't we have a fun time together last time?" Yeah," she stammered, unsure of what to say. My parents looked at James with disgust, not understanding what he was implying, but I knew exactly what he was trying to do. "By the way, Victoria, how many abs do I have?" James asked out of nowhere. "What?" My sister looked completely lost, and I had to hold back my laughter. "Do you remember the number of abs you saw 2 months ago? I accidentally lost them recently," James continued with a straight face. Only James would describe his abs like that. I couldn't stop laughing. "James, what are you talking about?" "The correct answer is 0, he declared proudly, ignoring my sister's puzzled expression. He didn't have any visible abs. Even my mom couldn't help but chuckle. It seemed like James was turning this into a silly game. The goal, to keep my sister off balance and unable to respond. "Question 2, James went on. "You've seen my moles, right? How many do I have?" What?" My sister stuttered, clearly confused. James's aim was to make her slip up, revealing that she was lying. They had never been physically close, so she wouldn't know these details, but she was too caught up to realize what was happening. My mom began to sense something was off and wondered, why are they acting like this? Shouldn't it be awkward if they really had been together? Of course, if what my sister claimed was true, they wouldn't be joking around like this, especially in front of everyone, just by having this silly exchange. It was clear to everyone that nothing had ever happened. James was having fun confusing my sister with his silly questions. He looked so happy, like a child playing with a new toy. His innocent expression made me think, what a scary guy. If my sister couldn't handle these jokes, she definitely couldn't handle being married to James. Finally, looking desperate, my sister tried to answer his second question. 10 moles, maybe. James announced. The correct answer is, I don't know either. My dad couldn't help but laugh, but he was also getting frustrated. Enough, James. Stop messing around. After leading all my daughters, my dad yelled, looking like he was about to grab him. Wait, I stopped my dad. Think about it. If she's really 2 months pregnant, it's impossible for James to be the father. What do you mean? My mom asked, now paying full attention. I glanced at James, asking silently for permission to speak. He sighed and reluctantly nodded, looking embarrassed. Can I tell them? Yeah, go ahead. James puffed out his chest, trying to act tough. All right, the truth is, during that time, I was stung by a bee on my, private area, James finally confessed. There was silence for a moment, and then everyone burst out laughing, even my sister. Enough with the lies. There's no way you got stung there, my dad shouted angrily while my mom clapped her hands, laughing hysterically. It's embarrassing, but it's true. It was hot, so I opened a window to cool off, and I just relaxed, without clothes, and then a bee flew in and stung me, James explained, his face turning bright red. I tried not to laugh for his sake, but it was impossible. There's no way someone this embarrassing exists, I said, tears of laughter in my eyes. No, there really is an embarrassing guy like that, right here, James argued back, trying to sound serious, but there was no way he could be proud of this story. My sister crossed her arms, still trying to act tough. That still doesn't prove the baby isn't James's. My sister, who had almost lost her balance, finally caught her breath and jumped back into the argument. No, Victoria, think about it. A bee stung me on my important area, you know. Dad, you can't imagine how painful that is for a guy, right? My sister went quiet, staring at James's serious face. Meanwhile, my dad, picturing the situation, looked down and gently held his groin, trying to keep his stern expression but starting to believe James's story. It's a really delicate area for men, so it hurt a lot. I'd even called an ambulance, James continued. I couldn't help but interrupt, trying to be sarcastic. Honestly, if someone made a baby while feeling like that, they must have some really strange tastes. I could even ask the hospital about it. My mom burst out laughing at James's quiet explanation. James, didn't you used to take off your swimsuit when we played in the pool? Come on, show me where you got stung. Laughing loudly, my mom moved closer to James, rubbing her hands together. What? It's already healed, so there's no evidence. Why would I show you that? James replied, trying to hide his chest, even though it didn't matter. He was trying to escape from my mom's playful grasp. It seemed like my mom had started to trust him, but James looked far from relieved. I can't understand that as a guy, my dad said, looking kind as if he respected James's last bit of pride. I noticed a look on my dad's face I'd never seen before. Because of where the bee had stung him, it seemed like everyone understood a bit better. I wondered if this situation was somehow showing the upside of an embarrassing injury. I turned to my sister, who looked dazed. Even if you tell such a pointless lie, neither James nor I are going to get divorced. If anything, you'll just end up more miserable. I may not be able to convince you, but I want you to be happy. You're my only sister. At that moment, my sister's eyes widened in anger. Shut up. I've had enough. I don't like James anymore if he's on your side. James shook off my sister's hand as she got emotional and tried to grab me. It's fine if you don't like me. I love Kayla, so it doesn't matter. I think of Victoria as a dear childhood friend and a sister-in-law, but I'll never see her as a lover now or in the future. If you keep spreading lies, I'll fight against them with everything I have. I am Kayla's husband, and I will protect her with all my strength. I almost cried. He didn't look like the goofy guy who'd been stung by a bee. He looked strong and determined. I thought, wow, my husband is so cool. Seeing everything unfold, my dad said, Victoria, if you're really pregnant, show us some proof, like medical records. Hearing that, I realized my parents had believed my sister's claim about the pregnancy just based on her word. I love my parents for trusting their child, but this time, it seemed their kindness had backfired. My mom then urged my sister to explain herself. If this is a lie, you should apologize to both of them, I said. My sister bit her lip, trembling. Enough, no one is on my side. I don't care, and I don't regret it, she said, tears in her eyes. Before walking away, my dad tried to follow her, but my mom stopped him, saying, let her cool off. 2 weeks later, my mom took my sister to see a doctor, insisting that she still believed she was pregnant. As expected, there were no signs of pregnancy. The doctor confirmed she was a healthy adult woman with no illnesses. After that, my parents apologized to James. We're sorry for the trouble and for doubting you without reason. We should have trusted you, James. We've known you since childhood. Please take care of Kayla. They also apologized to me. We're really sorry for causing you discomfort. Honestly, I didn't blame my parents. I hadn't told them about my strained relationship with my sister. It's nice to have parents who believe in their children, even if it sometimes leads to misunderstandings. After all, they're my one and only precious parents. Everyone makes mistakes, big or small. It's ironic that this time, the mistake involved my dad, who had favored my sister before. I've suffered because of that, but I'll forgive him because he raised me well. Without my parents, I wouldn't have grown up so happily or met James. My sister, embarrassed that her lie was exposed, angrily left the house, saying, I don't want to live in a place like this. Usually, my dad, who was soft on her, would have gone after her, but this time he said, it's better for Victoria to cool off and not come home. My mom added, you can't just ignore this. If she can't apologize sincerely when she comes back, she won't be allowed in the house. I couldn't imagine my angry sister sincerely apologizing to us. My mom probably felt the same way. Essentially, this meant they were disowning her. 7 years passed, and my sister did apologize to my parents and us, returning home once, but in the end, she was really disowned and kicked out. At first, she seemed to behave well, but by the end of the year, after drinking heavily, she sneaked into James's bed while he was asleep and asked, aren't you tired of my sister by now? James thought a ghost had appeared and screamed loudly. It was so loud that we all woke up, and the incident was revealed. My sister was very drunk and sad, saying, it's not fair that you were always so close with my sister. You should share some of that with me too. Of course, that wasn't something we could do, nor would we. I was furious and told her to stop. James was shaking like a scared little dog, and my parents, with looks of disbelief, decided to disown my sister. I'll never forget how my dad, who usually loved her, showed his disgust when he said, I don't remember raising a child who would attack a man in his sleep. After my sister sobered up, she kept apologizing, but my dad firmly rejected her. What you do when you're drunk shows your true feelings. We can't trust you anymore. My sister left home in tears. During this chaotic time, I found out I was pregnant for the first time. Since then, I've been with James, and we just kept having kids. Now, at 34 years old, I'm a mother of 4. 2 of them are twins, so I've only had 3 childbirth experiences. The kids are almost a year apart, making every day feel like a festival. If we left them alone, the walls would be covered in crayon scribbles, like an art exhibit. Every Sunday morning, James and I would run around the house with cleaning supplies, trying to tidy up. Even after cleaning, the kids would scribble again, but despite the mess, these are happy days. Our youngest is going through a no phase, resisting clothes, brushing teeth, and using the toilet, but when I see the sleeping faces of my 4 little angels, I can't forgive anything. My parents seem to feel the same way and often visit to help with childcare. James is also very involved, even though his hair gets pulled all the time, and now he's worried about it thinning. I find it funny to see him concerned about his hair, but I keep my thoughts to myself. After all, we want to see all sides of the people we love, even if it's not always calm and peaceful at home. It's a lively and noisy place, but right now, I'm very happy.